Okocha avec sa roulette. Okocha, et quel arrêt de boule.
The story of Augustine Azuka Jay-Jay Okocha begins not in Europe's grand stadiums, but in the bustling heart of Enugu, Nigeria, where football was not a sport, it was a way of life. Born on August 14, 1973, into an Igbo family, young Augustine grew up in an environment where resources were limited but dreams were unlimited. Like many African children of his generation, he learned to master the ball not with coaching manuals or expensive boots, but on rough streets where the ball was sometimes made of rags or plastic bags tied together. It was in these makeshift arenas that his artistry was born. His close control, dazzling dribbles, and fearless creativity were forged in the dust of Nigeria's playgrounds. Even among other talented children, Augustine stood apart. They called him Jay-Jay, a family nickname passed down from his elder brother, James, who also played football. But while his brother carried the name first, Augustine transformed it into a global brand. By the late 1980s, Okocha had joined Enugu Rangers, one of Nigeria's most respected football clubs. It was here that fans first witnessed the tricks, flicks, and fearless style that would later define him. Nigerian football at the time was tough and physical, but Okocha danced through challenges as if the ball were tied to his feet by an invisible string. His reputation grew rapidly. Scouts began whispering about the young midfielder whose skills seemed too audacious for the local game. But fate works in mysterious ways. In 1990, while visiting a friend in Germany, Okocha accompanied him to training at Borussia Unforgettable, a lower division side. Out of curiosity, he joined in. The coaches were stunned. Here was a young man with no European experience, outplaying their professionals. The trial quickly turned into an opportunity. Okocha had found his entry point into Europe, and soon after, he signed for Unforgettable. Okocha's real breakthrough came in 1992, when he joined Eintracht Frankfurt in the Bundesliga. Germany in the early 1990s was a land of structure, discipline, and efficiency, both in life and in football. But into this world walked a Nigerian artist, a man who played with joy, improvisation, and flair. He wasn't just different, he was revolutionary. It was in Frankfurt that one of the most iconic moments of Okocha's career unfolded. On August 31, 1993, in a Bundesliga match against Karlsruhe SC, Okocha received the ball inside the box. What followed was a masterclass in football artistry. He dribbled past defenders, toyed with them, stopped, started again, feinted once more, and finally, in front of the legendary goalkeeper Oliver Kahn, slotted the ball into the net. The goal was so mesmerizing that in 1993, it was voted Goal of the Year in Germany, a rare honor for a foreign player, let alone an African. That goal was not just a highlight, it was a statement. Okocha was no ordinary player. He was a magician, an entertainer, a man who brought street football to Europe's biggest stages. Commentators began saying, "We don't watch Frankfurt for the result, we watch for Okocha." What set Okocha apart was not only his skill, but his audacity. He didn't just dribble to escape defenders. He dribbled to humiliate them, to make the crowd gasp, to turn football into theater. Stepovas, nutmegs, elasticos. He performed them not once, but again and again, until even his teammates laughed at the bewilderment of opponents. In a European football culture obsessed with efficiency, Okocha reminded fans that football was also about beauty. He became a cult hero not because he always scored, but because he made people feel. Watching Okocha was an experience, one that made you leave the stadium with a smile, even if your team lost. While dazzling Europe, Okocha also became a pillar for the Nigerian national team. In 1994, he played a vital role as Nigeria won the African Cup of Nations in Tunisia, their second ever continental title. That same year, Nigeria qualified for their first ever World Cup, held in the USA. The world finally saw what Africa already knew. Nigeria was a football powerhouse, and Okocha was one of its brightest jewels. With teammates like Rashidi Yekini, Finidi George, Daniel Amokachi, and Emmanuel Amunike, the Super Eagles not only competed, they inspired. Nigeria reached the round of 16, narrowly losing to Italy in a dramatic match. But perhaps the crowning moment of this era came in 1996 at the Atlanta Olympic Games. Nigeria, led by their golden generation, shocked the world by winning the football gold medal. They defeated Brazil in the semifinal and Argentina in the final, two of the world's giants. Okocha, with his creativity, was at the heart of this triumph. For Africa, it was more than just a medal. It was proof that the continent could rule the world in football. In 1996, Okocha made a high-profile move to Fenerbahce in Turkey. For 2 seasons, he lit up the Turkish Super League, scoring 30 goals in 62 appearances, many from stunning free kicks. Turkish fans loved his flair, his unpredictable style, and his joyful approach to the game. The atmosphere in Istanbul was electric, and Okocha thrived on it. By now, his reputation had spread far and wide. Scouts from bigger European clubs were watching closely, and in 1998, he made the move that would define the next chapter of his career, joining Paris Saint-Germain (PSG) for a then-African record fee of £14 million. When Jay-Jay Okocha arrived in Paris in 1998, he was no longer just a Nigerian prodigy. He was a global superstar. Paris Saint-Germain paid a then-African record transfer fee of £14 million to bring him from Fenerbahce, a figure that made headlines across the continent. For many Africans, Okocha's transfer symbolized more than just football. It was pride, proof that an African entertainer could command the same respect as Europe's biggest names. At PSG, Okocha played alongside stars like Nicolas Anelka and a rising Brazilian teenager named Ronaldinho. The Parisian fans quickly fell in love with Okocha's unpredictability. One moment he would glide past 3 defenders, the next he'd unleash a thunderous free kick or attempt a trick no one had seen before. But perhaps Okocha's greatest legacy in Paris was the influence he had on Ronaldinho. Years later, Ronaldinho himself admitted, "Okocha was the player who taught me the importance of playing with joy. Watching him, I learned to entertain, to enjoy football, to make the fans smile." Imagine that, the man often called the most skillful player in football history acknowledging Okocha as his mentor. It is one of the strongest testaments to Okocha's legacy. In 2002, Okocha made a move that surprised many. Instead of joining another European giant, he signed for Bolton Wanderers, a modest Premier League club fighting relegation. For most stars, this would be seen as a step down. But for Okocha, it was the stage for one of the most iconic chapters of his career. From the moment he arrived, he lit up the Premier League. Bolton fans coined the phrase, Jay-Jay Okocha, so good they named him twice. He wasn't just a player, he was the heartbeat of the team. His free kicks, long-range goals, mesmerizing dribbles, and captain's leadership helped Bolton not only survive but thrive in the Premier League. Under his captaincy, the club reached a League Cup final in 2004 and even qualified for European competition. In an era when the Premier League was dominated by the likes of Thierry Henry, Ryan Giggs, and Steven Gerrard, Okocha, at a mid-table club, still managed to be remembered as one of the league's most beloved entertainers. On the international stage, Okocha carried the Super Eagles through some of their most turbulent years. After the golden triumphs of 1994 and 1996, Nigeria's football entered a period of inconsistency. But Okocha remained the unshakable symbol of hope. He represented Nigeria in 3 World Cups, 1994, 1998, 2002, and in the 2004 African Cup of Nations. He was named the tournament's best player, finishing as top scorer with 4 goals. Though Nigeria fell short of winning, Okocha's performances were unforgettable, reminding Africa of his enduring brilliance. As his career wound down, Okocha spent a spell in Qatar before returning to England for one final dance with Hull City, helping them secure promotion to the Premier League in 2008. Though no longer in his prime, he brought experience, leadership, and moments of magic even in his final days on the pitch. When Okocha retired, he left behind numbers, 73 caps, 14 international goals, countless club appearances. But his true legacy was never about statistics. It was about emotion. It was about how he made people feel when he touched the ball. For Nigerians, he remains one of the greatest to ever wear the green and white, a symbol of flair and pride. For Africans, he is a pioneer who carried the continent's artistry to the world. For global fans, he is remembered as the man who entertained without compromise. Football writers often struggle to categorize him. He wasn't the most prolific goal scorer, nor the most decorated trophy winner. But when fans list the most skillful players in football history, Okocha's name always appears, alongside Pelé, Maradona, Ronaldinho, and Neymar. Even today, his highlights continue to go viral on social media, inspiring young fans who never saw him live. That is the measure of true greatness, when your art transcends time. For those who witness Jay-Jay Okocha moments, let's educate the young generations in the comment section. What is that match so shocking you can never forget about Okocha? Don't forget to subscribe.